there's a skills wave coming and it's collapsing again. And it's like, we're trying it again and it's collapsing again. And like this time, many people are saying it's different, but we shouldn't be so sure.
When it comes to the actual point of how to make it work, it is not about the technology. It's not about the processes behind. Yeah. It's actually who do you need to get in contact with to do great work. And HR is in the future not, in my opinion, not only anymore like human people focused. It is very much focused on the workforce, and the workforce will become also agent focused.
Yeah. There's so much blah blah in the skills world. There's so many people just, trying to sell their stuff and somehow just, we're doing skills. And there are not as many people that really want to make it work, that really kind of think that, the skills-based approach and skills management and all that stuff is actually useful. Mm-hmm. And we've gotten to know each other for quite some time now, actually.
Yeah. More or less a year?
Yeah, a little longer, yeah. And I really the first kind of conversation that we had, I immediately got the impression that you really believe in this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think you kind of, you endure a lot of pain around skills, right? So for me, it's just, really cool to just sit down and talk about this stuff. I always talk about like making it work in the real world. Mm-hmm. And it turns out not a lot of people are actually already making it work in the real world. It's still something quite new. And there's always this risk of, there's a skills wave coming and it's collapsing again. And it's like, we're trying it again and it's collapsing again. And like, this time, many people are saying it's different, but we shouldn't be so sure.
we need to make it work.
Yeah, right? We need to make it work, exactly. And so, and so I think you're one of those people that's really, investing lots of energy and lots of, passion into actually making it work. So first of all, thank you for that. And that's why I'm really just happy to sit down and talk.
Yeah,
so maybe you can just kind of start off with saying, who are you, and why did you get into this topic in the first place?
Yeah. First of all, thanks for having me, and also for the nice introduction there. Laurenz, part of the Deloitte Human Capital team, project lead around the topics that very much focus on workforce transformation. This topic very much is one that drags along, I think, or I drag along with me since 2 years, 3 years now. I came very much from the future of work side of things, where that also was somehow a buzzword. So it's something I like to go on to, I guess.
You add on to the buzzwords. Okay.
But then trying to make those work, right? Okay. The future of work topic, you also know it somehow started off with how do we organize work in the digital era, how do we collaborate on things, and it somehow got stuck there. Then the whole topic about who do we now collaborate with, but then the actual nutshell, or when it comes to the actual point of how to make it work, it is not about the technology. It's not about the processes behind. Yeah. It's actually who do you need to get in contact with to do great work. And this is where I thought, well, this skills-based organization and the future of work is not far apart from each other. You just need to more understand what skills are there to really work then in the way the future of work asks you to work in. Yeah, and there it becomes somehow quite organizational driven when you need to understand what skills are there, how to make them connect in the best way, to then work in the way the organization needs to operate in.
Okay.
And therefore this future of work topic was a little bit more evolving into a skills-based organization topic.
Okay.
And it's not just anymore about collaborating, it's really how to organize all of this. Yeah.
Interesting. And now you're basically, working with a lot of, like different companies, probably from different industries, between kind of this future of work and skill-based organization topic, as I understand it.
Yeah, well, the future of work topic, because it became so much more transformational also, the whole human capital topic. So it's not anymore about how does good work look like. It's really about how do we make organizations perform better along certain human capital factors.
Yeah.
So it's not HR for HR anymore. It's really, it always used to or should have been HR for the business, but that is now much more seen from the business side of things now, that HR is really something that needs to be closer looked into. Or not HR, people.
The people
workforce,
processes,
and the people processes behind to make this a well-functioning organization. And this is where I thought, it makes sense to look into this even more. And the future of work isn't the topic anymore. It's really how to transform the organization along workforce topics.
Which is in essence then the future of work.
Yeah. But it's not like indeed is so the future of work. It is somehow a word, and you said that it's coming in waves, and then it's dipping again, and then it's coming again. I think this buzzword is somehow outdated now in terms of future of work. It's really much more about workforce transformation and the future of workforce rather than the future of work as such.
I think, you're in this kind of moving from future of work to skills-based organization. You probably also saw a lot of misconceptions and a lot of different ideas from different organizations. You're always kind of translating. You're not only kind of jumping in different industries, you're always kind of explaining words, explaining concepts. And I think you're one of those really, drivers of also, first of all, clarity and what does this even mean? And actually being able to distinguish, hey, future of work was a concept. It's not... It's not generally just the future of work. It's a concept, and this concept kind of is now over. And now it's skill-based organization, and it's
packaged.
But that's just that understanding alone. I mean, that's also something that you have to explain to probably many people, that what is not just what is skill-based organization, but where it comes from. And when did you realize that the HR team is now being driven more by the business again?
So it was very much professional driven. So there was no private coincidence why I came across this, and it was a client workshop. We and one of our directors had a long relationship with one of our major German car manufacturers, and we always had this concept about, and when I talk about we, it's we as within Deloitte, we had this concept about smart workforce transformation. And there the question always was, so what does this workforce transformation make so smart? What's the smart thing about it? Because workforce transformation should have been always something to drive and to look into also as an organization. And the smart thing about it is really understanding the skills and the skill gaps behind it to really transform against that. And to find out what are those skills we need in the future. And then we had this workshop with this client, and we prepared a very strong lab agenda, so workshop agenda for 2 days. And I very much digged in deep into this topic coming from this report. And the report,
the Deloitte report on future.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, there's the Deloitte report. The skills-based organization Deloitte report. And it is somehow a report that is bringing this topic very well into a surrounding to talk about it.
Yeah.
But in the end, it needs we needed a step further to say, okay, how can you make it work now?
Yeah.
And this is what the workshop should have been for. And it's quite of a ambitious setup in 2 days for a global automotive company to say, okay, how do we now make the skills-based organization work? And we started this workshop, and we very much derived with this client what the future ambition also of all of this should be, because it became very clear that this was a key point to really talk about. First of all, what's in it for the organization with the skills-based organization approach, and what happens if you just do it the normal way of working without skills. It also worked before that, without talking about skills that much. But what's now the major difference to it? And I loved actually this thinking with the client along this topic, because it so much showed, as a consultancy, you're also moderating this process for organizations to get into this topic.
Yeah.
Even though it's maybe also the request to bring solutions, but at that time it was 2 to 3 years ago.
Understanding.
Yeah, it was very much more understanding. There weren't that many cases out there. This is now different, but it was very much more about telling the story about it. Why do you want to have it, and then take it from there.
Did you realize, or was in the case of that client, was it driven by the business? So was HR kind of asking you because the business was driving them in terms of you have to implement the skills stuff, or was this did the business kind of drive that you now realized, or that you eventually realized? Did that come later, or was that already apparent in that meeting?
So the trigger for it, that was a more HR related workshop, indeed, but the trigger very much came because they took the client-centric view for their businesses.
Okay.
And they said, well, automotive industry, especially in Germany, hugely disrupted, a lot of transformation going on. So we need to somehow equip the business better in transforming.
Got it.
So this was more of a how to buckle up HR to make this work, to also serve as a consultancy for their clients, internal clients. But then in another company, also automotive, we had this then in a very much, this whole project was linked in the R&D department.
Okay, wow.
So it wasn't an HR topic anymore,
cool.
and HR was good, pulled into it more as something to take from this pilot project and then to scale into the organization. But this project was very, very much driven by the business, which we tended to see in the last few years much more coming actually from the business side of things, especially IT departments and engineering departments, going much more now back into the HR. So now we're a little bit more back into the HR environment, because the business has made the say much stronger to say, okay, we need this, and now HR comes back into play. But it's somehow the journey, very much business focused, very much requirement focused also to support transformations. And now it's becoming more of a normal thing to actually think about skills as part of the end-to-end talent life cycle.
So basically, so we came from this previous buzzword, future of work, which was very much HR driven. That kind of transitioned into skills-based organization, which appears to be more practical and as you say, driven by the business. And now a little bit coming into the present, because this was 2-3 years ago. Is there now a risk that, kind of the business drove HR to say, hey, you need to make skill-based organization work. Now HR is trying to do it. They're in parts not succeeding, and now business is saying, okay, let's just do it ourselves. As you said, the way we always do it. Because to me, I always think skills management and skills are broadly defined, skills can be certifications and, thinking about a machine, does employee, does Peter know how to operate the machine? Yes or no? The business does that, right? So the business does skill management. And now we kind of see this drive to the business pushing HR trying to implement skill management, not succeeding. So the business kind of saying, hey, we're going to do it ourselves after all.
Yeah, I mean, indeed, there is the risk.
Yeah.
And there's always the risk as HR to not keep up with the speed of the business overall. Yeah, because in the end, who needs to transform? It's the business areas.
Yeah. They're under pressure.
They are under pressure. They are the revenue generating areas, departments. Then more or less not some are, but the cost centers. Therefore, they are under pressure. They need to transform. And if we now talk about the skills-based organization more from HR thing, and I'm not saying this is wrong, it's definitely needed. If we talk, for example, about how to do workforce analytics, how to do workforce planning, which is an HR product in the end, you can do that much, much better with a solid skill basis to know where the organization is going. This would definitely help the business in transforming, but it is always linked to the job architecture. It takes so long to build up a job architecture normally, to link skills to that, to validate it, to have a solid databases, to then run the workforce planning on it.
So the business says, wow, this is taking too long. This is this is too much effort. We're going to do it ourselves. We're going to do it the way we always did it. Please, HR, just take your hands off it again.
Indeed, and this is what we see currently. There's an RFP coming up from the HR side of things. Help us to develop a skill-based job architecture. And in the same company, there's a request coming up from a more business side of things. Help us to set up a competency framework to support our transformation from a business perspective. And we know both side of things. We also understand both.
Yeah.
But what the crucial thing would be to bring that together.
Does the business kind of see HR kind of as a procurement department, saying give us the skills solution, we'll take care of it, just get it for us, right? And so HR, just implement it, and we'll take care of it, or and vice the other thing is HR. I mean, skills is inherently HR work. So does it make sense for HR to operate this thing, or is it just HR, the procurement unit, to buy this or implement or whatever? Just the unit to implement it, but business fundamentally operates it, or should HR operate it? How do you see that?
I'm totally on the side HR should operate it.
Oh, really? Okay.
HR should operate it because they are in the middle. If they position themselves right, And if they get also the mandate from the business, they're in the middle of the organization, somehow connecting the dots also between the other functions. Yeah, and if you just like if I don't know, the engineering department comes and asks HR, can you please procure a solution that helps us to, if it would be that easier, but if that helps us to drive skill-based, I don't know, resource planning,
Yeah.
then the request of the R&D department would somehow be similar, but they would somehow also ask for a different set of granularity in skills. And then the whole thing starts. You cannot have a solution in the organization for every business. You cannot, which is what you can, because that's actually currently the case, thousands of skill taxonomies in the organization where everyone operates along, but you cannot drive the business impact or the organizational return on invest. You cannot calculate the return on invest if you haven't it on a single databases across the entire organization that is harmonized in a way so everyone understands it, everyone can draw conclusions from it, and it's still specific enough for the businesses to run their businesses.
But isn't HR kind of risking to be too onerous, too captivating for this solution, and then like not having the business have enough say? I mean, that's what I experience all the time. Like at the end of the day, it's actually HR's solution. It's like it's not the business's solution.
100%. But and this is where it all starts. Yeah? Where does the whole process of becoming a skill-enabled organization, so a skill-based organization is a very long journey to get there, but at least a skill-enabled organization. So how do you get there? You most likely get there best, not just driving it from an HR silo and thinking about what the organization needs, but having somehow one or two pilot areas to drive this thing together with you into the organization. So, and it's most likely nothing completely new what I'm saying here, because what we see is most of the organizations saw the need of having business at the table, HR departments having business at the table adds the necessary value to conceptualizing all of this. But when you have done that, it's then definitely the role of HR to promote it into the wider organization and also stand for the standards that have been developed. And this is a fight that needs to be fought.
Is that the case? Because like, isn't it so that, you know, like, we're conceptualizing the, like I'm playing a business now. We're conceptualizing this, and then we just discussed this before. Now, who's responsible for the governance? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, you need to define somebody for the governance. And you like HR immediately jumps to, oh yeah, somebody from HR has to be responsible for the governance. Mm-hmm. But like, does it? Like, or isn't it actually? Isn't it much more realistic to just actually have the business govern the business, just use a solution, and as like, isn't the kind of the middle way, the middle ground to say, hey, this is a solution for and by the business, governed by the business. HR has access to the solution. HR can leverage data from the solution, but does not interfere with the kind of day-to-day governance, but leverages data in order to do workforce analytics, blah, blah, blah.
Totally, but that's a federated approach you need to follow.
There you go. Yeah.
And the federated approach is always, you need to somehow have a solid center, and that defines the rules for the outer lines, which can be more flexible.
Yeah.
And you need to have someone to be at the solid center.
Yeah.
And you have too many different interests in skill taxonomy setups in skill taxonomy, validation cycles in skill taxonomy.
Wait, like, I'm not even like, I think I said yes too quickly, actually.
Okay.
Because I'm just going to take any solution. Is there a solid center for, like, is there a solid center for the project management tool? Is there a solid center for the Atlassian Jira, like this kind of wiki/project management tool? Is there a solid center in the organization for Atlassian Jira? Not really. People use it very differently. Some use it as a wiki. Some use it as a ticketing tool. Jira.
Yeah.
Some use, like Confluence is a wiki. Some use it as a collaboration. We work with large automotive companies where they invited us to a shared kind of collaboration space. And it's like this kind of tool, this project management tool was there. It obviously was maintained by the IT department, that's clear, but it was used very, very differently by many different organizations. And there were individual leads in these organizations that also educated us as externals how to use their instantiation of that little piece of Jira or Atlassian. Isn't it much better to kind of apply that same approach to skills management and say, here's this like broader tool, use it the way you use it, define stuff the way you define it. Do it the way you do it so we just get started. Rather than having this, it seems very kind of, for me, this completely makes sense that it takes so long, because like if there's one central person that has to consolidate all of these opinions into this one central, then like if everybody would have to comply to one exact way how to use Confluence and Jira, nobody would use it.
Indeed. But in using a tool is something different, I think, in terms of like what do these systems you're talking about, what are they there for? To somehow support people on doing work and doing a process, following like their process they need to run. Being it a project, being it a topic they need to develop, I don't know. For the skills topic, I would see it a little bit different, because you need to, like, the whole power of this skill topic will evolve for the organization when you have a common databases. And this is a little bit different to the other tools, I guess, because you get only the solid databases if there's a certain level of rules being followed to somehow define the skills. And you, even though you could say we're just defining skills down to, I don't know, roles, from a central HR perspective, but we're not defining skill, like, and everything what comes afterwards can be defined on positions, can be defined by the business itself. Then you have still the solid center defined well. We have that down to roles. We can also track against that. We can report against that. That's all clear. But after that, you can use skills however you would want to, and also the system however you want to use it. What's the critical thing though behind how do you want to keep track of this flexibility? Yes, you could keep track of this flexibility in some sort of way to extract then the changes that needs to be referred back into the standards you are setting. And there needs to be a certain cycle in there.
But that's a technological problem, right?
Indeed.
That's doable.
But the governance behind the only thing like I want to really emphasize is the governance is about who sets the standard in terms of where do we want to have a common denominator on skills, on then nomenclature on it, on also the validation process behind it, and where do we as HR then say, well, this is something where everyone can use this to really make it work for their use cases. And this is actually something where everyone struggles at the moment with, to somehow find the balance between what standards are we setting and where do we leave flexibility to the users in the end?
What I'm implying is that, and again, I'm rushing to a conclusion, obviously, for the sake of the discussion, but that HR is kind of too focused on standardization and too little focused on kind of picking up and picking up the trail, the thread, the work that the business has already done.
Yeah.
In the spreadsheets, Excel, whatever, skill matrices that they've been doing, the roles that they've been defining already.
Yeah.
And that we're all too quickly rushing into defining a standard, defining a template, rather than picking up, like, hey, business, what have you been using up till now?
Indeed. Yeah, and I mean that's the way.
I don't want to put. I want this to be challenged by you. Is that like? Do you see that, or is that like?
It is in a way that you need to somehow pick up what's done already. Yeah, this is what will flow into this taxonomy. You see,
but is that done? Like, is my so businesses do that? I'm not. So you're basically saying I'm not correct, like, because I was saying businesses don't do that enough.
Businesses or HR?
Well, HRs.
HR. They are like, well, whenever you create a skills taxonomy or a skills framework, then and you have a pilot partner that helps you from the business side to do this, then the skills taxonomies, if they are available, should be and are used to bring that into the system. And then this is where the technology indeed again comes into play. Match it against the benchmark. Where are the industries going? Where are companies you would like, even not in your industry, you would like to compete with, where you would maybe want to enter a new business model? Then you need to map that against, which will flow then into your skills taxonomy. So that is done. That is done. At least where we are involved. That is done.
So that is done. So it's not that the HR department is too adamant, too strong about like centralization, standardization. They are listening to the businesses, but what's the kind of
what's hindering them?
Yeah, what's the hindrance? What's the breaking point? Why is it taking so long?
Yeah, it is then in the end to find the common denominator on the skills, and I'm truly convinced that solutions who support on this benchmarking and also on setting up the taxonomy are a strong accelerator to find this common denominator, because it is always like also an interest of personal individuals in the business or in certain functions who are experts in their topic to see also these skills who they believe should be in there, covered in there. But these skills are somehow not always on the same level. And therefore, in the end, and here comes HR again into play, they should be the moderators of finding this level with the help of a solution that brings in the AI-based, of course, then also the market insights, the data behind that, which support these kind of discussions, saying this is a standard, and even like this solution that provides us with the standard is also used at the competitor and this competitor. Then it becomes much more of a stronger argument also from HR to somehow get through this tedious discussions of what is now the right level of skills and so on. So this is, which is very tiring and often brings also projects in a less successful way, because you try to make then find some solutions that somehow suit more or less, but they are not the ones that really are on the same level. And this is where HR really should be the moderator role, taking, of course, this business knowledge into account. And then we talked about governance. Also facilitate this governance, but the governance needs to be anchored into the business again.
Yeah.
Because you need to somehow have skill cluster owners from the business side who feel attached, committed, motivated to keep this skill cluster in their in the up-to-date state they want to have it for their business, because that also brings then the role into the business who owns then the skill cluster, saying, okay, you are the closest to the trend of your function. Tell us, where is this going? And does this comply also with the skills the technology, for example, gives us every, 2 months?
Yeah.
And if you succeed to, on one hand, make the skill taxonomy a harmonized one, a business-centric one, and then also link the skill governance into the business, then you become more successful rather than when you drive it just out of HR.
I totally agree, and that's obviously I'm talking out of the co-brainer perspective. I totally see all the projects where HR really, kind of really pulled back and said, I'm going to put the businesses into the lead. I'm going to have them be in the driver's seat, take the decisions on, heavily influence the templating, heavily influence, what is it like the definition of skills, and also being, responsible for skill clusters. That where HR really is in the true sense of the word, a service organization to really, actually my Jira example, just, putting out the solution and having others use it, just making them successful use it. That's, those are the successful projects. Every time where HR is too much involved in governance and tries to kind of put the, textbook definition of, this is a skill, this is a competency, or this is the correct template. That tends to fail because it's too much removed from the business.
Yeah.
I totally see a path where basically all HR processes, skill management, job architecture management, recruiting, all of that is purely done by the business units, not by the central HR function anymore. I don't even think far future. I think it's quite soon that HR will really start to shed a lot of stuff that they've used to be doing.
But they will provide the infrastructure.
Exactly, that they will become, they will kind of become too prone. Number one, they will kind of merge with IT, be like the provider of the infrastructure. But that, and then there will be these very profound, coaching type of experts that have the ability to work with these systems, to interpret data, and then to, again, influence the context in terms of, cultural aspects that they feed into the models, or, certain type of initiatives that they can spot for certain groups of employees. But, and I think this is not, it's not something totally crazy that I'm saying. I think lots of people are seeing this, but I think not enough people are talking about this development, and it's not being kind of manifested enough. So I just want to kind of start this conversation more, and I want to kind of hear your opinion. Do you and I'm putting I don't want to put words in your mouth, so it would be nice if you kind of protest in some way, but you don't have to. So I see really HR merging with IT, and then having these the people core still being there in a way, but in a very concentrated way that is basically working with the infrastructure, influencing AI models in terms of, coaching type of context. Is that again?
Well, that's a very innovative view of things. I'm not totally sure if well, the talent processes will only come to life if everyone in the organizations do them. Yeah, if they are used in a way that they help the organization in a way to do succession planning right, to get the right people at the right place at the right time via recruiting, internal mobility, and so on. I think the interest of the end users of HR, which is in the end the business functions, is not 100% there yet in a way that they are doing the talent processes end to end.
But here, can I just interrupt you here, because the way I see it, they actually do. I see so many leaders of business units of large organizations, go to LinkedIn and say, okay, I have this and this position, please. And then there are sometimes I even see posts on LinkedIn, this is only for people inside my company. Please only apply if you already work in my company, but this is a posting that I currently have. They go to LinkedIn to advocate for their internal position. Exactly, to complete. And so for me, this is just a symptom of like the tools are just not there. And that's why HR has to activate. Like everybody uses Miro, everybody uses Jira, everybody uses these different tools, because they're intuitive and they work and they just okay, I just use Miro or Miro.
Yeah, but isn't that like that's more of solving of a problem that shouldn't exist, right? So it's in the end solving the problem they are having in the fastest way.
Yeah.
Therefore, they are trying to find which is solution oriented.
Yeah.
Try to find a way to get this problem solved as quick as possible. And it's maybe the solution is not provided internally in that way, and the processes are somewhat too long.
Or the software is just bad.
Or the software is bad, yeah. But in the end, I think it shouldn't be let's say the case that this is a usual way of going forward. It should indeed more be how is then the central function, which would be HR, which should be somehow the expert on all of this, which should be where are the talent pools maybe to find also those people quite fast, still be a point of to address, yeah, to go towards them. In that way, it is somehow currently maybe not that much seen, but the portfolio of HR needs to become much more, solution-oriented and flexible in a way, than and problem-oriented, than saying, well, we have our process and follow along that.
Okay.
But so that is the way that should be the thinking behind, but it is not something that I think comes around fairly quick.
That's basically your future vision of HR. So basically offering like a portfolio of tools, kind of.
Yeah, offering a portfolio of tools, offering a portfolio of services, which are very much supporting the problems that are there in the organization, not just saying, well, we have a process, this is the fastest way of how we operate, and hopefully your problem is getting solved in that way. So you need to be much more focused, centered on the business.
So like this HR service center, kind of like dedicated kind of fixer, problem solver for any type of issue you have.
Yeah, in the best way, yes.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, then it needs to become much more flexible in a way to address those problems. Yeah.
Do you know Pulp Fiction by Quentin Tarantino? Do you know Mr. Pink, the fixer? So HR needs to become Mr. Pink. Okay. No, but like, and kind of that's somewhat different than what I said, but it's also kind of this, HR needs to be aware of their skills portfolio and needs to be able to offer that in a much more open and kind of accessible way. And they're kind of too much rigid in terms of the way they're doing things.
And HR is in the future not, in my opinion, not only anymore like human people focused. It is very much focused on the workforce, and
Yeah.
the workforce will
Yeah.
become also agent focused,
Yeah.
right? And to maybe really orchestrate that, to also help the organization to find the best fit of human and machine, human and AI. That is something also where HR should become much more a leader in driving this forward and just focusing on the human. It will become the key, or it stays the key stakeholder group, but it's really, there's now another component to it that brings us back to the start of the discussion, the overall workforce topic.
Yeah.
It's like human resources, really workforce resources in the
Yeah.
Under workforce, there's also the agent force.
Yeah. That makes total sense. So basically, HR being kind of that fixer problem solver that with the like one of the primary use cases actually showing the business unit how to combine the workforce of their business unit potentially with another business unit, potentially with another agent, and kind of being like this accelerant for new type of combinatorial solutions. Value creation.
True. So and this transparency you only get with the understanding of what skills are required, what skills are key for a human resource, and what skills are maybe also something that can be provided from a technology, from an agent, and the connection of this, what task requires which setup, is something that HR could moderate in a way for the business also,
which HR
with
does,
transparency on the on skills,
which HR does not do at all nowadays. They're drowned in administrative tasks. This combinatorial kind of new value creation is not at all being done, or very lightly being done, and you could get much more value from that. That's amazing. That's a great way to end. Thank you.
Thank you.
Amazing stuff. That's a wrap.